Second hour, first things first. Today, a loss to the Cowboys would drop Lamar and the Ravens to 0-3. Coming up in maybe 16 minutes, our first literal segment of Must Win. Meanwhile, should the Dolphins give the Steelers a shout to see if Russell Wilson is available to quarterback their team? One person has an idea that would work. But right now, of course, let me get you caught up to speed on what we're doing. Last night, at a Wendy's, an elite group of triathletes, despondent Woj followers, shout out to Woj, and people who think me and Jeannie and Nick had a real fight yesterday, fought and toiled and burned the midnight oil to deliver the best segment in all of sports. It's an honor and a privilege. It's time for week 3 of Tears.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, as always, Kevin Wilds. And people missed the top of the show, or if Coach wasn't watching from our green room, which doesn't actually exist, but it's a little lobby area where you can watch the show. We did have a committee member, sadly, resign out of solidarity to you. Not even because they thought we had a real fight, but they just said, and I quote, "How dare you raise your voice like that to my dear friend Eric Mangini," and walked out of the room. So, Tears this week, we're down a man. We'll miss Dante Scarnecchia from the Tears. And we do have an opening. Now, we need an offensive line coach to really help us figure it out. Now, to the bottom of the Tears. Brink of elimination. All 32 teams are still Tears eligible, but these 4 teams are on the brink. And honestly, Tears and Wednesdays at 4 o'clock will be better once we've eliminated a few of these scallywags. On to the next one. Oh, isn't that cute? You gotta win. Hey, that's just adorable. Some people, even because you got the win, think like that fact that we thought you might be the worst team in football coming into the year, that's now gone. Like the Patriots, or that the Raiders have a competent offense, or that the Browns aren't going to regress back to who they've been when Deshaun plays. And Washington, by the way, I put you in a different category. You're starting a rookie quarterback right now, so you're supposed to not really be competitive. And also you beat the Giants, which is the one team Daniel Jones had success against, but that's where you fell. Absolutely maddening. And this for different reasons. For the Colts, man, Gus Bradley, I love you, man. But everyone in the world knew that the Packers were just going to run the ball, not trust Malik Willis to pass, and yet you let them just run the ball all over you. Now you've lost to DeForest Buckner. That's a concern. For the Jags, everything about them is maddening right now, including them costing me credibility and actual cash money week after. When's the last time they won, Wilds?
It was the weekend after
Thanksgiving. It's not good for your boy. The Rams and Dolphins, it's not your fault. Just injuries for the Rams to everyone, to the Dolphins to your quarterback, and that's maddening for your fans because you were supposed to, be legitimate contenders this season. East Coast bias. These teams are not contending for anything. Yet every talk show in America has to evidently pretend they are. Like, are we talking about the Eagles today? Are we talking about the Jets today? Why? Somebody tell me what is the thing either of these teams is great at? Are they well coached? No. Do we fully trust either quarterback? No. Oddly, do we trust either defense right now? No. Do they both have a great wide receiver and another couple cool weapons? Yeah. So does 2/3 of the league. But they're the Eagles and the Jets, so we're going to keep pretending. That's fine. Thank God for the committee. We're not going to be fooled by these teams, nor will we be bullied by anyone, particularly people with oddly undersized tight shirts. Like, if you're not talking about them, what are you doing today? Guys, I'm happy that these teams are 2-0, and I really like Geno and Mike McDonald. I think what Mike Tomlin does year after year is remarkable. Kevin O'Connell is one of the best coaches in the league, and Alvin Kamara's resurgence is one of the best stories in the league. None of these teams are contending for anything. And if not for the committee, if we were all just standing zealots, we'd have to be like, well, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? Be real contenders is what you want to do to move up the rankings. Running out of time. Yeah, that's right. That's 2 0-2 teams above 4 2-0 teams. Doesn't matter. I still believe in these teams, but they are both running out of time. As Wilds has been talking about, 0-3 is a true death knell historically. And the sneaky problem for these two teams is They're both 0-2. They're in the same division. They're going to beat each other up along with the rest of the division. I have more faith in the Bengals, even if I think the Ravens oddly might have more talent, just because the Bengals have fourth place schedule, Ravens have first place schedule, but still, they're running out of time. You have our attention. If the NFC is truly wide open, one of these teams could find itself playing the final weekend of the conference championship weekend, I could say. The Bucs just do keep winning. The Cardinals' offense has been dynamic. The Falcons put a lot of eggs into this year's basket, and all of a sudden Kirk in that 2-minute drill started looking like Kirk. And I understand all of the Bears commentary, understandably, has been about how bad the quarterback play has been. The flip side of that is they have had arguably the best defense in the league through 2 weeks. We can throw out what they did to Tennessee. Holding C.J. Stroud and that Texans offense to 19 points and keeping them in it despite Caleb's mistakes means that defense is for real. And no matter what you think of Caleb, he won't be as bad moving forward as he was these first 2 weeks. Coaching masterclass. Chargers and Packers. Now I understand the Packers are 1-1 and they could lose until they get Jordan Love back. But what they were able to do last week, what Matt LaFleur has consistently done since he's been there, and the Chargers would find ways to lose in the past. Now Jim Harbaugh got there, everyone's like, hey, what's he gonna do? It's like, I don't know, signed a redhead 6 foot 300-pound fullback, drafted tackle number 6, probably gonna run the damn ball. Guess what he's doing? J.K. Dobbins, league MVP. Right, Justin Herbert just throwing dinks and dunks for 140 yards a game, doesn't matter. All right, everyone calm down about these teams. The blue chip talent still jumps off the page. Some of us might have questions about one quarterback, some might have questions about the other quarterback, might have questions about their ability to win the biggest games at the most important time of the year, but on a week-to-week basis, they are still 2 of the best teams in football. America's rooting for you. So what do I mean by that? Well, for the Lions, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think everyone has a soft spot in their heart for the Lions. For the Texans and the Bills, it's very simple. You're America's last best hope at preventing what is evidently the new villains. Rig the games, hate Kelsey, hate Mahomes from the inevitable three-peat in the Arrowhead Invitational being a 7th straight endeavor, which is rival-less at the top. And what do I mean by rival-less? If I were to tell you the Bengals, the longest losing streak to any one team they have in the AFC is their losing streak to the Chiefs. So nobody beats them more often than the Chiefs beat them, but they're supposed to be the Chiefs' rival. They're the team that has the Chiefs' number. They've lost 3 straight. We know the Ravens can't. We know that no one in the AFC West can't. We know the Bills can't in the playoffs. Top the tiers, rival-less Kansas City Chiefs. Coach Mangini, this is going to be the week. This is going to be the week that you say those beautiful words. You have nothing to add. The tears were perfect.
Nick always accuses me of being late to the party on my takes, but the flip side of that is, if you're not invited to a Nick Wright party, you're never getting invited to a Nick Wright party. And that's just how it is. But in the words of C.J. Stroud, you need to learn from your mistakes, Nick. And here's where it is. You got to bump New Orleans up. You have to bump New Orleans up.
You too.
Now let's just throw on a little bit of information here. So let's pull up the first graphic about how well the quarterback's been doing. We've seen that. We saw this yesterday. So it's first, second, third. So that's the one side. And now let's look at what they're doing defensively. Okay, so we pop up there. Okay, so now they're 4th in opponent points per game. Turnover differential, takeaways, right on down the line. So they've been solid in both areas. And you look at your tiers, and the team they beat is, 6 tiers above them, where I don't know where the Cowboys are. And then you want to talk about quarterbacks, because you don't like Derek Carr. I get it. He'll never come to a Nick Wright party. But you're talking about what? Look at the other part. Murray. He's got question marks. Cousins, he's got question marks. Yeah. Caleb, question mark.
This isn't Mahomes Mountain. This isn't about
what I'm just saying is, whatever you're talking about, why these other teams are above the Saints, and you don't like Carr, and you don't like the Saints,
can I tell you?
And they're never going to get invited to one of your parties. I get it. So that's where they stay.
So a couple things. One is, do I still have seared in my memory Derek Carr in the one playoff game he ever played in on 4th down with the chance to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, deciding I'll just throw short of the end zone for no reason. Yeah, of course I do. Do I have seared in my memory the 2 other times in his career he has had a 5-game stretch similar to the one he's on, the heater he's on right now dating back to last season, only to immediately go back to being Derek Carr? Yeah, I do. But my big issue with the Saints is actually not Derek Carr related. If I have a single issue with the Saints, it's that I think they have, if we were ranking head coaches in